What's going on, everyone? So the Detroit Pistons are very busy, right? Obviously, they recently traded for Isaiah Joe. They're trying to make moves. They're trying to upgrade this roster and may end up even having to trade Jalen Duren. There's talks about Jalen Duren sign and trade, that they are so far apart as far as contract-wise goes that Jalen Duren is now exploring potential sign and trade deals or looking to land elsewhere, with the sign and trade being the most likely scenario, right? Detroit doesn't want to just lose him for nothing. He is a restricted free agent, so there are teams that could maybe throw some money at him and kind of force Detroit to match. That's something that could, figure out. Also, where does Duren want to go? I imagine that would, because he has to agree to, he's technically a free agent, right? He has to agree to a new contract wherever he goes. So it's one of those things that could make things a little complicated. But another guy that has been heavily linked to the Detroit Pistons is Norman Powell. Now, they need another shot creator. They need another scorer alongside Jalen Duren. Tyler Hero has been heavily linked, but it looks like Tyler Hero may end up staying. Like, the Bucks are listening, but they're not like, they don't feel the pressure to trade him or anything like that. Like, they want to be kind of competitive. With the new 3-2-1 tank rule, you almost need to still be competitive, right? So it's kind of one of those situations where Detroit might not be able to land somebody like a Tyler Hero. There's been some talks because the Miami Heat are very likely going to lose him for nothing, right? The Miami Heat are very likely going to lose Norman Powell, that is, for nothing. And they don't want to run the risk of that. And they need to build a team and get as much talent and shooting and things like that alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo as possible. They won the Giannis sweepstakes, but now you have the tough part of trying to figure out how to build the rest of this roster out. And so, if you can get a player or something for Norman Powell, then that could be, huge for a team. And so the Detroit Pistons are a team that has some interest in Norman Powell, are looking to maybe acquire Norman Powell, and a Powell, Detroit Pistons sign and trade could be something that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of talks about Duncan Robinson maybe potentially going out. And I do think that there is potential now with the Isaiah Joe trade. So they ended up taking on Isaiah Joe. It makes sense that, like, okay, we just got a 3-and-D shooter, somebody that is literally a sharpshooter, just shot 42.3% from three-point range. So we got somebody that can shoot the ball extremely well, be a 3-and-D guy. Personally, I like him better than Duncan Robinson. And there's all these talks about them trading Duncan Robinson back to Miami, because Duncan Robinson played at Miami, but trading him back to Miami for a sign and trade of Norman Powell, which makes sense for both sides, right? Like, the Miami Heat need somebody exactly like a Duncan Robinson, somebody that can shoot the ball, shoot the lights out, and he has familiarity, has been in their system before, knows Eric Spoelstra, familiar with Eric Spoelstra. So Miami would get that kind of sharpshooter, would get that guy that they need, and then Norman Powell gets to go to Detroit, gets to be the starting two because they need him to be that bucket getter. You got somebody in an Isaiah Joe that can fill in, play the role of the Duncan Robinson, off-ball shooter and stuff alongside Powell and, Jalen Duren, or not Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham, all these names, right? All these moving parts and pieces and components, right? Like, this is going to be a wild offseason. It's like every 5 minutes I'm making a new video about something because all these players are moving and stuff. But Cade Cunningham, right? And then, on top of that, maybe you go and trade Jalen Duren. They got off Isaiah Stewart, so it's like, do you really want to lose Jalen Duren for nothing? Reed has been really good for them, but, he's not really a starting center. So if they get off of him, then they're probably going to need a new starting center. So Detroit's probably going to revamp and restructure this entire team in a lot of ways, especially if they end up getting off of Jalen Duren. And I got to imagine that they're going to want a, big in any type of trade, or is it one of those things where it's like, if you just get enough talent, right? Like, you kind of just can you get a serviceable big type thing where it's like, do you need this like super high end big? I mean, you make an argument like with Cade Cunningham, Cade Cunningham isn't Luka Doncic. He's not, there was a lot of talks this past week. People saw he's not Luka Doncic, right? But he is a very good, like, he is somebody that is going to help maximize and make any big man better. He doesn't operate the way Luka does with the big man, but he is somebody that can, run the pick and roll and get the big man some eats, which is important. So, it's kind of similar to like the Lakers, right? Like Lakers don't need this like superstar big man. I mean, if they could go get a Jalen Duren or something like that, they're going to go get a Jalen Duren. But I've made the argument even on my Laker channel, as it stands Lakers, that like, I don't think the Lakers need some $30-40 million center. There are exceptions to the rule, sure. But, Luka's going to make whoever that is look like an all-star. You have similar kind of scenario with Jalen Duren and the Detroit Pistons, where it's like, they don't necessarily need this 20-10 center, especially if you have Norman Powell, Isaiah Joe, you go and make all these little moves and all these things, right? Like you still could do things like, maybe go get a Miles Turner or something like that. I don't know, just to get some floor space, some more shooting and still have that defense and stuff, right? Like, and maybe open the paint for Cunningham and Powell and stuff like that to go score the basketball and stuff. But, there's the flexibility and options with the Detroit Pistons. And after seeing the Isaiah Joe acquisition and then plus all the talks about, hey, they might go sign and trade for Norman Powell, it kind of feels like that's kind of where this is heading. Like that's the direction that, the Detroit Pistons, they really need that secondary scorer, that secondary shot creator next to Cade Cunningham. They wanted Austin Reeves, they wanted Tyler Hero, and it looks like both of those guys are off the board. You're kind of running out of options here. Maybe go make a play for a Kyrie Irving or something like that, or you just bring in a Norman Powell, send out a Duncan Robinson. You just went and got an Isaiah Joe. Right? It's like, if you're Detroit, it's like that's great, right? I got Isaiah Joe to replace Duncan Robinson, and I was able to turn Duncan Robinson plus, whatever pieces here and there or whatever. Now I end up getting Norman Powell. So now I got clear upgrades because, again, I like Isaiah Joe better as a two-way guy than Duncan Robinson. And then also, again, you have, that shot creator and scorer, and then you figure out what you do with Jalen Duren, right? You go sign and trade Jalen Duren, go make a move to turn Jalen Duren into players and pieces, again, maybe a center. There's options there. There's ways that you might be able to really kind of grow this or revamp this team in a way to where maybe you can hoist the Larry O'Brien, because they weren't as good as they looked during the regular season. So there's definitely some changes that need to be made, and it looks like they're going to start making some changes. I mean, they're being very active so far, and we're not even in free agency yet, so should only get wilder. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Also not, so enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.